Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of No More Excuses. I am your host, Sandi Ballard, the Badass Business Coach. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, for investing in you, and for sharing this podcast with others. And as always, I'd love to hear where you're listening from. So email me, Sandi with an I, Sandi@sandiballard.com. Find my website, badassbusiness.coach. Direct message me on social media. I'm everywhere. So tell me, where are you listening? Share with me something you'd love to hear more about, right? I'd love to hear from you so I can answer your questions and give you a shout out, right? Like Victoria and Indy. Hey girl, haven't seen you in a while, but thanks for reaching out. Thanks for listening as well. So today I want to tackle a crucial aspect of success, being persistent without being a pain in the ass. Yes, it's so fun. Isn't this game of owning a business or being in sales or business development, marketing, whatever you want to call it, but having to go out and get new business without seeming like a frightened dog or a pain in the ass, right? Persistence is key to achieving your goals, but how do you do it without annoying everyone around you? How do you do it without scaring off the prospects, right? So today I'm going to cover actionable steps to make that call, send that email or text, even mail a card without crossing the line of annoyance. The power of persistence. Persistence is key to success because it means continuing in a course of action despite any difficulties or opposition or no, right? It's a vital trait for success in any field because it shows resilience and determination. And so many times people get annoyed because now we have so many ways to connect with people. We can find you anywhere, right? But you can also ghost someone like I don't even know anyone, like Bigfoot, right? You can reach out and literally, I've been ghosted, right? It sucks. It's like, just fucking tell me no, right? Anyway, thinking about some of the most successful people they didn't get there by giving up the first sign of trouble or the first no. They kept going, they learned, they switched some things around, and they kept pushing forward. But there is that fine line between being persistent and being a pain in the ass. You have to understand the balance. So how do you find that balance? The key is to be assertive but respectful. You need to communicate your determination without overstepping boundaries. So here's some things to think about. Be polite and professional. Yes, I'm a conversational cusser, but that doesn't mean I'm not polite and professional. I'll watch my F-bombs in a conversation, right? So always maintain polite and professional tone in your communications. I don't care if it's an email, phone call, text, written note, whatever, WhatsApp, social media. Be courteous because it shows respect for the other person's time. And respect their time. Understand that everyone has their own priorities and timeliness. Everyone that has shit that goes sideways. You don't know what's happened to the other person. And you also don't know if maybe they're just freaking ignoring you, right? Or ghosting you. If you don't get a response immediately, it's not a no. Give them a reasonable time to respond, and I'll share some tips with you here in just a sec. But add value. Each interaction should add value. Instead of just saying, I'm checking in, provide an update, share useful information, show genuine interest in their work. Make every communication worthwhile for them as well. One of the things I always learned, I guess I'm jumping ahead to the tips, is when you're talking to someone, say you met them at a networking event, make note of whether they have kids or you have something in common. I just had a meeting with someone to collaborate, and we found out we have a lot in common about how we were supposed to go to college and be in one field, and then we had to go break the news to our dads because we were going into more creative field that they might not necessarily approve of, right? There's different things, different ways to connect. So remember that, because then when I reach out to him, I'll share that. I'll remind him of that conversation. So let's talk about practical tips for persistent communication without being a pain in the ass. All right, tip number one, follow up strategically. Ah, my gosh. After your initial contact, wait a few days before following up. According to the studies I read, Tuesday through Thursday between 8 and 10 and between 4 and 6. Write that down. If you're driving, make sure to come back or message me. I'll send this to you. Tuesday and Thursday between 8 and 10 a.m. and between 4 and 6 p.m. However, also consider someone's schedule and time zone, right? Might be 8 to 10 to you, might be 5 to 7 somewhere else, right? So think about that. And also, if you think about something outside of the time zone, I will always save it in a draft and send it first thing in the morning, right? Using a scheduling system or just remembering to do that. Make a note of it. Put it on your to-do list. However, consider someone else's also what they do for a living. Maybe their role is a night shift or a weekend shift, right? So you can follow up, even if that's outside of your time frame or your work role, work hours. If it's okay for you to step outside of your boundaries, because maybe it's a better time for them, go for it. And I came across this great article on LinkedIn that this is something I've never heard about, but I think it's cool, is the 3x3x3 method. All right, follow up 3 times, 3 days apart, using 3 different channels. I'm going to test this out, but I'm also going to share with you something I did. So thinking about that. So 3 times, 3 days apart, using 3 different channels. So going back to that first initial contact. If you don't hear something from them, wait 3 days. All right. And I'm not saying try all the avenues at once, one way at a time, right? So remember your purpose. Remember why you're supposed to contact them, follow up with them. Perhaps offer new information or a different perspective to the conversation, like the gentleman I met with and our connections about our dads, right? And watch your verbiage. Another tip I heard, and I've tried this out, is from because I'm not a sales trainer, but I was listening to a sales trainer, and I had heard him, or he actually said in his webinar, to not say, "Hey, I'm just following up. Hey, I'm just checking in." And I put air quotes for those of you listening. I put air quotes about "I'm just" and fill in the blank, right? Instead, say something like, "I've reached out a few times based on your interest in," and fill in the blank. Or you asked me to reach back out to you on this date to discuss, fill in the blank, but I haven't heard back from you. Where should we go from here? I literally have done that twice, and I will be happy to say one person scheduled with me immediately, and the other person is still ghosting me. So it's a 50-50 shot, but don't you think it's worth trying? I tried it, and I'm going to keep trying it when I get to that point. But I'm also going to tie in the 3x3x3. So one is verbiage and one is timing, right? So be strategic. All right. And then vary sort of with that. You got to tie in that 3x3x3. Vary your methods. Don't rely on just one method of communication. Some people love emails. Some people hate emails. Some people love text. Some people don't. Some people never check their LinkedIn. Some people are crazy with WhatsApp. So you kind of got to figure it out. You could also, when you're meeting with them, say, and they ask you to follow up, or if you say, "Hey, may I follow up with you? What's your preferred form of communication?" And they'll tell you. I mean, because I get confused sometimes. I'm like, somebody reached out to me on direct message, but then I thought we texted, but then I went back. I was like, where was that last bit of communication? So sometimes it can get a little confusing, but just make sure you try different methods, right? So if you've sent an email, no response, try a phone call. If you've called and left a voice message, follow up with a text. Perhaps write a note. Send a card. Send a card. I love my send out cards subscription. Love it, right? This shows you're committed, but also respects their preferred communication style. And, there's social media, like I said, where you can, and WhatsApp. So you can direct message somebody, but you have to be careful because for me, I get so many solicitations, mostly on Instagram, where they can bump my Instagram up to like 10 million people for $50. It's like, really? Okay. So, I mean, I might, but I'd like to get there legitimately and organically. Maybe I'll be forever at whatever I have. But anyway, I'm not saying don't instant message me on Instagram, but just know I might not always look at it because it's usually somebody soliciting me for that. So again, don't hit them all at once on all the different platforms. Use one, then try another, the 3x3x3. You've got to respect, there's so many opportunities to connect, but you've got to be respectful. And, sometimes, you didn't answer somebody's email. So then, or I didn't answer somebody's email. So now they're creeping on my social media or they're blowing up my WhatsApp, and I will not check my WhatsApp group or app. What's my WhatsApp app? Just letting you know. So an example, when I first started my business, persistence versus pain in the ass, I was introduced to a woman and we discussed the potential of being referral partners and collaborating. And I had no idea about this 3x3x3 rule at the time, nor did we have social media or texting. Yes, it was that long ago. But this is the beauty. I magically knew in my gut. I remember leaving a voicemail, no call. I waited a few days, sent an email, no reply. Then I was nervous. I gave it till that following week. So it was almost the 3x3x3. It was like beginning of the week, end of the week, middle of the following week. And still no reply. Voicemail again. I was so nervous leaving that voicemail. And guess what? She called me back. Yes, that following week, she called me back and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was out of town." She also did some work for the Red Cross. So she didn't have time. She had to leave immediately and didn't have time to leave a voicemail. But she also didn't want to leave an out of the office voicemail because what she did for the Red Cross, she didn't want people getting that voicemail message saying she's out of the office, right? Because they needed her. So anyway, regardless, she called me back. We did a shit ton of work together and we're still great friends. Thank you, Jill, for not calling me and telling me to stop being a pain in the ass and never call you again. Thank you for not ghosting me. And thank you for saying your persistence was key to our relationship. Your persistence was perfect, and I appreciate that. So that's what she said to me. She appreciated my persistence. I didn't bombard her, but now, like I said, there's so many different avenues to get people's attention or to get with people, connect with people. Just be careful, right? Number 3, be clear and concise. When you do reach out, be clear about what you want. Be clear why you're reaching out. Again, you asked me to follow up by this date about what? So reach out and be clear and concise. Long rambling messages are most likely to be ignored. Be direct, get to the point. I mean, oh my gosh, if you haven't left a long rambling email or voicemail to someone, or perhaps a long rambling email, you haven't lived. How many of you have deleted a voicemail before you hung up or before you hit ends, right? Oh my gosh. There was, I think, one time, maybe probably a lot more, where I re-recorded it multiple times. And finally I was like, I don't even know. So learn to be direct, but say more than, "Hey, call me back. This is Sandy. You asked me to call you." Put a little thought behind it, right? Provide some useful information. Remind them of why you're calling. Remind them of what they wanted from you. Yes, but get to the point. Oh, if you've been prospected, we're all being prospected because again, we're all selling. Let's just be respectful of people and not ghost them, please. All right. Tip number 4, use reminders and tools. Like I said, be consistent. Well, if you're busy, you got a lot of people to follow up with, find a CRM. Yeah, use calendar reminders to track your follow-ups, especially like you've come from a networking group or a networking meeting or event, you've come from a conference and you've got, I don't care if it's 3 business cards, or 100 business cards. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of all that. And I have a wonderful person that can help you decide what CRM would be best for you. If you need that, a follow-up system, direct message me. I'll send you her information. She's phenomenal. So using calendar reminders or a CRM will help you stay organized and will ensure you won't overdo it or you won't forget, right? Try out the 3 by 3 by 3 rule. Try changing up your verbiage. But the biggest tip I can give you is follow the fuck up. Just do it, right? No more excuses. It can be scary, especially if you don't hear from them. I was nervous as hell that 3rd time, or maybe it was 4th time that I called Jill, but it worked out. So if you don't, you'll never know. And then guess what? What if that person really wanted some information from you or wanted to hire you, buy your product? What will they think of you if you don't actually follow up with them? I've had that happen to me. I mean, we've probably all forgotten at some point to follow up somebody, or let a little bit of time slide in between. But don't let that discourage you. Still try. You can always apologize and just say, sorry for the delay, make up some shit. No, but we're all busy. We all forget. We're all human, right? But if you're using the tools, it will help you not forget. And especially, like I said, when you come back from a conference or a networking event, don't jump on the people. Give them some breathing room, because I don't know about you, but if I've been gone at a conference, I've been traveling, I need to sort through all my business cards, all my swag, and get my laundry done, get my luggage unpacked and my laundry done. All right. Give me a hot second versus going to my computer and seeing, 50 emails going, great to meet you, great to meet you, great. Yes, it was, but give me some time to decompress, right? Oh, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is becoming a really fabulous place, but again, be careful using it, just like anything else. But that is a really great business safe space to connect with people. So, all right. I gave you some real life examples. I gave you an idea of how what I've used, and the 3 by 3 by 3, but I want to hear from you. What has worked? What's not worked? How do you follow up? How did you, like my persistence with Jill, has something like that worked for you? Or do you know you've gotten on the PETA list, the pain in the ass list? Email me, Sandi@sandiballard.com, or post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, because, it is such a fine balance. It's such a game per se, but there's so many ways and things you can do. And you can also, automate the hell out of everything, but be careful with that, because I'm even learning how to automate some things on my website and in my email list. But that first form of communication, how can that be more personable? How can it be more authentic, right? And, again, I just recently, another real life story. I recently did a virtual call with someone to learn about their product. I actually wanted to know about them and learn about them, how I can use them, how they can make me more successful, or more for my clients, more, I guess, learning how to coach them a little stronger, right? That also could, help me streamline processes. But, he was a little persistent when we were on Zoom, and that's fine. He's in sales, right? But I told him, I said, hey, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I need I gave him a date to call me back, and processed it, thought through it, did some pros and cons of my own, like on my giant whiteboard sheets. I did some pros and cons, and I reached out to him actually before it was time for him to get back to me and said, here's my answer. So I gave him a day to follow up, and I was also proactive with that. No doesn't always mean no. No can mean not right now. Or you can just say not right now, but don't ghost somebody, right? So now let's take action. All right. Look at what's going on. What are you going to do? How are you going to follow up? Looking at your approach, decide on that, the 3 by 3 by 3 method. Looking at what is going to help you. Again, if you want a new CRM, let me know. Otherwise, just use your calendar and just say, I mean, you can do an Excel spreadsheet if you pay attention to it, but you've got your list of people. I mean, it is more difficult if you're in sales and you've got 100 people to follow up with versus 3. If you get 100 people to follow up with, you do need a CRM. If you're a smaller business, you can use calendar reminders, an Excel spreadsheet, and just put dates on there. I talked through it with a client of mine as well. She's in sales, and she talked about how she was connecting with people and how often she should follow up. And she created a spreadsheet, and we talked through what that looked like. And then she has notes on there on how often and when she'll connect and when she should, especially if there's nothing urgent right now, but she just wants to stay in touch with that person. And if you want more information about send out cards, let me know. I'm not selling them, but Barb is my rep and she's amazing. I love her. And once I got off my ass and started using send out cards, it made a difference. I heard it made a difference. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of No More Excuses. Remember that persistence is so powerful. It's a powerful tool, but it's all about balance. Being polite, professional, and adding value. You can be persistent without being a pain in the ass. All right. Take those steps, make those calls, send those emails. Don't be a pain in the ass. All right. Until next time. Cheers.